Hello students, I welcome you all for this wonderful video lecture series on problem solving using C++. Actually today we are going to discuss about constructors. The last class we had discussed what is classes, objects, how we are accessing data members through objects, and what is data members, what is member functions, how we are defining member functions inside the class, outside the class, friend functions, and constant member functions, and so on. So many topics we had discussed in the previous lecture videos. Today, actually, we are going to discuss about constructor. It is very, very important topic on C++. Before we are discussing about constructor, let's introduce myself. I'm Shankar. I'm working as assistant professor in the Department of Computer Science and Engineering at RMD Engineering College, Chennai. Let's see what is constructor. Constructor is a special member function, or we can say it is a special method that is invoked automatically at the time of object creation. What is very important, this is the definition of constructor, right? It is a special member function or it is a special method. The constructors are invoked automatically at the time of object creation. It means that if you are defining constructors inside the class, right? So whenever you are create objects, automatically the constructor is called, right? Okay. And next, the constructors are used to initialize the data members of new objects. Constructors are used to initialize the data members of new objects. And how to identify the constructor, right? Actually, first 2 points represents why constructor or what is constructor or define constructor, right? If they asked anything, what you should write or what you should remember always, it is a special member function or the special method that is invoked automatically at the time of object creation, and the constructors are used to initialize the data members of new objects, right? Then how to identify the constructor, right? Constructor has the same name as the class or structure. It means that the constructor name and class names are same, and the constructors are invoked at the time of object creation. And constructor does not have any return value, and hence it does not have any return type. It is very, very important. While looking, the function name and class names are same, right? Or the constructor means function. It's a special member function, I said, right? The function name and class names are same. We can conclude it as constructor. As well as we should remember one more thing. The constructor does not have any return value, or it does not have any return type, because the constructor doesn't have return type, then obviously it doesn't return value. That's why we said constructor does not have return any value, because it doesn't have return type, right? Yes. Let us see the syntax for constructor, right? The class name, open brace, and list of parameters, close brace, ends with semicolon. This is actually constructor calling or declaration. See here, the constructor can be defined outside the class declaration. Before, what we had discussed is just declaring constructors. It has only class name, list of parameters, and ends with the semicolon, right? Class name, list of parameters, ends with the semicolon. Okay, it's fine. But if once declared the constructor, we should define, right? So the definition may be of two types, right? We may define the constructor inside the class, or we may define the constructor outside the class. Let us see how we are defining the constructor within the class. How we are declaring, how we are declaring, sorry, defining the constructor inside the class or within the class, right? So it has class name, right? Class name must be a function name, and if the constructor has list of parameters, you have to define the parameters, and it has open brace and close brace. Inside, you should give the constructor definition. That is the syntax for defining the constructor within the class. Please be remember the syntax for defining or declaring the constructor is class name and function name must be same, right? Yes. Just see here. These two statements you know very well, right? So here the class is the keyword, class name is student. So we are defining a class called student, and up to this is your class definition, because here we have opened and here we have closed. We know that very well. The class must be ends with the semicolon. Okay. So inside we have a data member called roll number, the type of integer, and name is the type of string, that is 10 characters, and double is the type of, sorry, fee is the type of double. So totally we have three data member. And see here, this is actually member function, right? We have return type, function name, and it has definition, right? Generally we know that member function. Inside we have defined. You just see here. You just see here, is there any data type? It doesn't proceeded with any integer, void, float, character, any other thing. Nothing. Because what I said, if the function doesn't have any return type, any return value, it is called constructor. One more rule I said, that is, if the class name and function names are same, the class name and function names are same, we can conclude as this is constructor. And one more rule, it does not have any return type and it should not return any value. So as of this function name is student, the class name is student. So student, the function class name and function names are same. Also, it doesn't have any return type. So this is constructor, right? So inside the constructor, what we have done, we are getting some input value. That's it. Later, we have one member function called display. It displays something with the help of cout statement, right? So if you go to the main function, you just see, we know how we are creating objects, right? How we are creating objects? Class name followed by object name. So here, student is class name, S is object name. You just see here, we are calling the function is dot display. That is, if you want to call any member function, what we should do, we should have to use object dot member name, right? Object is yes dot, the member name is display. Okay, it is fine, it calls and print something will come later. You just see, we have called any function like student. Is there any statement? No, we did not call s dot student like. And how this statement is used, how the statement is executed, you just remember the point here what we have discussed. Constructor is a special member function that is invoked automatically at the time of object creation. Here also I said, right, constructors invoked at the time of object creation. So what happened? When you are creating the object at the time of object creation, S is your object creation. At the time of object creation, automatically constructor is invoked. Where is constructor? This is your constructor, right? This is your constructor. It is called, that is invoked, and it executes a statement first. Enter the roll number. It's asked. We have to give the input for roll number. So 101 is our input. Again, enter the name. It prints enter the name. I'm giving the input for name as Guru. And next it asks enter the fee. I'm giving the value, some value for the fee. It assigned to fee. So at the time of object creation, this constructor is invoked and this set of statements are executed and come back. Now this is not constructor, right? This is normal member function. How we are accessing member function? Object name dot member name. So S is the object name, dot member name is display. Again, it goes to call here and it prints cout end line. Next line it comes and it prints roll number, that is roll number. And next slash t is tab space. And next name, what's the name I have given? Guru. It prints. And next again slash t is tab space. And next fee, what's the value of fee? Some integer value I have assigned. That value is printed here. That's what about constructor. Once again, I'm repeating what is constructor. Constructor is a special member function which helps you to initialize the object automatically at the time of object creation. Right? Right? Yes. And for identifying the constructor, we clearly knows that the function name and class names are same, and the constructor does not have any return type. Also, it doesn't return any value, right? Yes. Also, we define two ways the constructors. One is inside the class and another one is outside the class. So far, we have discussed how we are defining the constructor inside the class. You just see this is constructor definition. The constructor is defined inside the class itself. Correct? Because the class is up to this scope. Inside we have defined the constructor over here, right? Okay, let us see how we are defining the constructor outside the class. How we are defining the constructor outside the class. So here we have to give the class name. scope resolution operator. This class name is actually your constructor name. This class name is actually constructor name. Why again we are giving a class name is because the constructor name and class names are same, right? So this is your constructor name and this is your class name, right? Both becomes class name only. That's why no confusion. We can write both our class names. And if your constructor have any parameters, you have to given here the list of parameters. And within open and close brace, you can define the constructor definition. You should remember this is must be outside the class definition, right? Yes. Let us see the example, the same example. These two lines we know very well. We are defining the class called student and the function definition is up to this only. Sorry, not function definition. I'm too sorry. It's not a function definition. This is class definition. Class, the class name is student. It has three data member. One is roll number, name, fee, as we what we discussed the same example. But see here, this is your class constructor because your class name and function name, that is constructor names, are same. It does not proceeded with any data type, return type, that is it doesn't have any integer, float, void, something so on, right? So it doesn't have any return type and the class name and function names are same. So this is actually our constructor. And here we are declaring a function called void display because here the function also defining outside the class. Already we had discussed how we are defining the function outside the class. So this is your class definition, right? Inside the class definition, we have not defined the class, just sorry, we have not defined the constructor, even function, just we have declared. So we are defining this constructor, outside the class. You just remember the syntax. What's the syntax? Class name, again class name in the sense constructor name, list of parameters, right? You just see the class name is student, followed by scope resolution operator, and next constructor name, open brace, close brace. Because here in this we don't have any list of parameters, that's why it is empty. The rest same definition what we had discussed in the last slide, right? And next, this is normal member function defined outside. Return type is void because here return type is void, followed by class name. Class name is student. And next scope resolution operator function, and function name is display here, right? And we have defined the same set of statements what we had discussed last, right? Again, you just see student as a class name. Here we are defining object, or we are creating object, class name followed by object name. So class name is student, object name is yes. You just remember when the constructor is called, when you create object, automatically the constructor is invoked. While creating object, yes, it goes to the constructor definition. It asks that the definition contains enter the roll number. It asks enter the roll number. I have given 102, 102 assigned to roll number. Again, it asks enter the name. And for the name, I have given ROM. ROM is assigned to name. Again, it asks enter the fee. Fee, I have given here something 70,000, that is assigned to fee. So again, it returned here. Next, what I have done here, s dot display. It comes here. What display? It should display the roll number, tab space, ROM, tab space, 70,000. Right? So far we have discussed what is constructor, how we are defining constructor. There are two ways to define the constructor. One is inside the class and another one is outside the class. Let us see some characteristics of constructors. You know very well the name of the constructor and the name of the class must be same, right? So constructor name and class names are same. Constructors are mostly declared in the public section. You just see here we have declared public section. It is not that we should define always public. Mostly the constructors are defined public section of the class, though it can be declared private section of the class also, right? And constructor, this also already we know that the constructor does not return any value because it doesn't have any return type. And constructor get called automatically when I said when we are create objects of the class. And constructor can be overloaded, but it cannot be virtual. We cannot declare the constructor as virtual function, but we can overload the constructor. Let us see later what is overloading and what is virtual function, but you just remember the point that constructor can be overloaded, but constructor cannot be declared as virtual, right? These are the important. I hope you understood the concept what is constructor and how we are defining constructor inside and outside the class. What are the characteristics of the constructor? Right. In the last next class, not for the next class, let us see what are the types of constructors are there, and let us discuss each type with the example. And thank you all, and thank you very much for watching this lecture series on constructors. Thank you all.